making money now.
Correct, and that still is, but there was always that level of emotion or intellectual curiosity about it. You know, I was never going to use it in any immoral way.
On the other hand, I've actually tried.
Well, I didn't hear that in your voice, that you would have tried, and with what kind of results? I mean, you had good results with gold,
Oh, yeah, well, great.
and what about, how else have you done?
Well, specifically, when we had the entities linked to the U.S. dollar becoming irrelevant, and in other words, the Federal Reserve Fund becoming more or less irrelevant at the end of 2003, I tried going short in a massive way with put options on various indexes, and what we expected would happen, the fall of the dollar, when you guess what, the market went up.
Yes, but why not just go ahead and bet on the falling dollar? I mean, that's something you have to have, why not
Well,
bet?
you have to by buying gold, you are betting on the fall.
Well, you're right, you are, yes.
And in fact, we have run some special runs for people where I would put the web on back, almost a year ago. I did a couple of runs for some European banks, and they did very well as a result of all of the advice that came out.
Well, you could have done even better. Wow, you're right about my goal. That's sort of a around the corner, very conservative way to bet into what your machine's telling you. More direct way would be to simply get in the currency markets and put lots of money on the falling dollar, and then you're
And that's correct. And this is a discussion that George and I had repeatedly over the last year and a half or so, because I have this rather stubborn streak in being like that.
I hear it, yes.
And I have this attitude that one must create value. It's not merely a matter of shuttling digits back and forth. If you do that, you don't necessarily create value for the universe as a whole. And so I don't find those things to be particularly fun.
Boy, I heard the two of you have had some roundhouse talks.
Oh, you have no idea. I was a vegetarian, and until recently, I ate a lot of meat.
Oh,
And yeah, but you know, and that's what good collegial exchange is about. I mean, you know, it comes out with something that I think I don't have any problem telling him, and he'll tell me more often than not, and he might be kind of out there too. But all of that said, we're still both of us sitting back looking at the spread spectrum signal, and I like contact, you going, what do we do with this?
yeah, that's not like contact after Jody got the signal. It wasn't any, you know.
Exactly. We're looking at it like, well, it would be the right thing to do, and you know, frankly, I think what we have agreed
Well, it sounds to me like, actually like, one of you has one idea of what to do, the other has another idea of what to do, and how do you work that out?
we already have a thing.
How so?
Well, I think what we would like to do ultimately is find a government agency that we don't know who they are or anything. Sell something, here's how to protect the country with it, not get involved with secret clearances again and so forth. And just turn it over to them, say, hey,
We recognize that we've taken it as far as we can, frankly, and you need somebody with a maturity.
Yes.
And frequently, I'm sure you recognize the person who discovers something is not necessarily the best one to do the maturation of it.
Yeah, but still, you're just, I mean, you're both prepared in this way, essentially.
yeah, for a while.
More or less for the right individuals, right? I mean, if it's the universe, it always comes back, or, you know, I don't worry about that.
We're not even selling anything. To us, this is really kind of like Orville and Wilbur did not set out to build a 727. You know, they like, hey, let's make something fly. Well, we can kind of make this thing fly, we think. And we can describe some of the basic aerodynamics of
At this point, had no real reason thought one, because you can't get to the conclusion that you go as far as you can go with your resources.
you're
Well, the resources to be honest, that includes
If you were to sit down with a potential investor, could you convince him with the information the oceans all around the world. This program, Coast to Coast AM, covers every bit of the territory around the world, one way or the other. Good evening, I'm Mark Bell, filling in for George Norrie, taking a well-deserved night off. And let me give you fair warning ahead of time. We're going to do something a little bit special tonight. And what I'm going to do is hold it until the second half hour, so that those of you who would like to record it, actually it's only a piece of it. It kind of went on and on. It is, and we've never replayed this, to the best of my knowledge. It is the infamous, if you will, a story of a man who flew over Area 51. And I think this occurred back in 1997. Now, that's just my best guess, but I think it was 97. And you've just never heard anything like it in your life. It's about almost 12 minutes long. And I know a lot of people have been wanting to record this or get a copy of it one way or the other, so the network was kind enough after somebody requested. This is by request. And somebody on the show last week and requested that we dig it up and play it, so we shall. And they're getting the second half hour here. Let's take a brief look at the pressing world news. President Bush talks about Iraq war plan in Saddam. President Bush said Thursday he wished the execution of Saddam Hussein had gone in a more dignified way. President Bush also said he'll make a speech next week announcing his long-awaited decisions about how to proceed in the unpopular war in Iraq. Considering more troops to deal with the rising violence in Baghdad, Bush said, "Only for absolute certainty." Didn't say absolute certain, he said. "I want to make sure the mission is clear and specific and can be accomplished." Something we should have done before we went in, right? Senior generals have cautioned against sending additional troops unless their role is well defined. Well, it's happened. In a ceremony and historic change, Representative Nancy Pelosi became the nation's first female House Speaker on Thursday, as Nancy really took control of Congress for the final 2 years of the president's term, probably making life rather miserable for the president. Well, comes back, said Pelosi. She immediately set the rank and file to work passing tougher ethics rules. Energy Secretary Samuel Baldwin on Thursday dismissed the chief of the country's nuclear weapons program because of security breakdowns at Los Alamos, New Mexico lab and other facilities. The number of death sentences handed out in the U.S. dropped in 2006 to the lowest level since capital punishment actually was reinstated 30 years ago. Wow. Reflecting what some experts say is a growing fear that the criminal justice system will make a tragic and irreversible mistake. Executions fell to the fewest in a decade. President Bush has chosen a 25-year Intel veteran, Vice Admiral Mike McDonnell, to be our nation's second National Intelligence Director, as he reshapes national security strategy with 2 years left in his presidency. In a case fraught with ethical questions, this story is really weird. The parents of a severely mentally and physically disabled child have stunted her growth to keep their little pillow angel a manageable and more portable size. The veteran 9-year-old girl had her uterus and breast tissues removed at Seattle Hospital and received large doses of hormones to halt her growth. She is now 4'5". Her parents say she would otherwise probably reach a normal 5'6" or so. J-Lo honored by People Espanol. And she deserves it. I really like Jennifer Lopez. I always have. She's among entertainers selected by People Espanol's 100 most influential Hispanics issue, which honors those who have made an impact in the Hispanic community. Well, yes, who places the cover of the magazine's February issue on newsstands, Friday says, quote, being an example to others is a big part of my work there. I must say, she really is something. I've seen a number of her movies lately, and she's just a joy. Just an absolute joy. All right, listen, the webcam shot tonight is of Ms. Erin Bell. This is right here, taken a few hours earlier. And you'll notice she has a pillow covering her somewhat protruding stuff. Actually, she's not doing that like yet, but you can indeed begin to see it. So we want, in the next hour, Whitney Streeter is going to be here, and this is going to be talking about what Whitney and I have always talked about, and that is the weather. In a moment, we'll look at a little of the rest of the news, as Paul would say. Dayline Chicago. I love this. Federal officials say it was probably just some weird weather phenomenon. But a group of United Airlines employees swear they saw a mysterious saucer-shaped craft hovering over O'Hare Airport last fall. We just heard about this now. The workers, some of them pilots, so they know what they're saying, right? Said the object didn't have lights, and it hovered over an airport terminal before shooting up through the clouds, according to a report in Monday's Chicago Tribune. The Federal Aviation Administration acknowledged a United supervisor, in fact, had called the control tower at O'Hare, asking had anyone seen a spinning disc-shaped object, but the controllers didn't see anything. And a preliminary check of radar found nothing out of the ordinary. Quote, our theory on this is it was a weather phenomenon, said Gordon Bizet, FAA spokeswoman, actually, Elizabeth Warren. The night was a perfect atmospheric condition in terms of low cloud ceiling and lost airport lights. The light shine up into the clouds, why sometimes you can see funny things, said G. The FAA shall not investigate, said G. United spokeswoman Megan McCarthy said company officials don't recall discussing any such incident from November 7th. There's a lot of non-recollection there, isn't there? In the months of October, November, and December of 77, and during the first half of 78, the Brazilian state of Pará has been invaded. Iraq has been invaded by UFOs, and it was not simply sightings. Nothing to do with mysterious light wandering at high altitudes. More about bright objects in several shapes and sizes flying over the Bay region at low altitudes, just in fact, meters above the trees and firing strong beams of lights at people. The people harmed by the one of the most important ones in video growth. Ufology studies and still, in fact, being researched nowadays gave us several names for the silent flight objects, vampire light, but the thing, and mainly Chupa Chupa, the sucker, I guess, from Chupacabra, right? Basically, the object the pilots were beings with a height of 1.2 or 1.3 meters, that's small. We called it Chupa Chupa because of the weird scars the victims bore on their bodies. The light beam used to leave the tiny holes on the skin. Among women, the scars were on their breasts. They seemed to lose blood during the attack. Men and women complained of giddiness, body numbing, and headache after the attacks. The inhabitants of the cities of San Antonio and others camped on these days in bitter remembrance. Panic took over even the state's capital with a sequence of strange light reports and Chupa Chupa attacks in several quarters of the city. Astonishingly, local authorities Chupa Chupa, that's interesting. In the end of the 70s, scientists from all over the world came to Brazil, where they failed to explain anything. 27 years later, documents from the Brazilian Air Force's Secret Service are now revealing these lights from space were something much more unsettling than we can imagine. The explanation of the phenomena is there is none. It is still a big mystery, a huge challenge to the science and the Air Force experts, ufologists, scientists, and researchers from Brazilian universities are collecting signatures. In fact, a petition will be delivered to the Brazilian president. It requires the Air Force to reveal conclusions of the investigation of the Chupa case. Well, I'm sure there'll be great difficulty in recollection, but we'll see. At first, it simply looked like an ugly oil slick. But as the crew of the yacht Macon sailed closer to a brown patch on the ocean near Tonga, Pacific, they suddenly realized they were observing something far rarer and more beautiful. What looked like a brown stain on the Pacific turned out, in fact, to be a spectacular rift of floating pumice stones stretching more than 16 kilometers. Wow. And an indication that an island was being born right before their eyes. After navigating a course toward steam clouds on the horizon, can you imagine being on this boat? The crew of the yacht was treated to the sight of lava spewing out from the ocean to create new land where previously there had been none. One of the very few people to witness firsthand volcanic activity creating an island. You remember Frederick Franklin last week told of his experience during a stopover in Brisbane. His account has volcanologist 5 rating. Franklin, a Swede who lived in the U.S., was traveling from San Francisco to Australia in August when Macon chanced upon the floating pumice, which was later photographed by NASA with a satellite. Pumice initially appeared to be an oil spill, but as we drew closer, it proved to be thick. In fact, about 18 kilometers across, the sight was unbelievable, he said. It looked like rolling sand dunes as far as the eye could see. So I guess in a way, you're seeing God in the creative mode. This is the stuff of science fiction. And a respected American historian says that within 5 years, are you ready for this? Within 5 years, he's going to be able to graft wings, and if you wish it, a tail on human beings. John Hardy on the bizarre world of radical plastic surgery. Dr. Rosen is not a quack. He works at the acclaimed Dartmouth Medical Center, and he has a scientific, he's been a scientific advisor to NASA, so he's right on up there. He's on making statements like this. Human wings will be here, mark my words. He believes in all seriousness that within 5 years he's going to be able to graft wings onto a human being's body. This is possible because our brains adapt to create new neural maps for new body parts. When we have them amputated, our neural map of that limb gradually fades away, and if we gain a body part, our neural map expands accordingly. If I were to give you wings, you would develop literally a winged brain. Our bodies change our brains, and our brains are infinitely moldable. So, Rosen, surgical techniques already exist, which can be used to stretch torso fat and rejig rib bones to create a wing. Although human would be able to fly, he thinks, they would resemble angels and have full sensations in their new hanging bone flaps of flesh. Rosen has designed blueprints. This is the new world of radical plastic surgery where Rosen is Moses. He would not be content to settle merely for wings either. He's got his mind set on cochlear implants to enhance human hearing. Or be doing that, right? Raising as it does the prospect of superhuman soldiers and even humans with tails. I wonder what we use a tail wings. Now, while he doesn't necessarily think we could fly, perhaps with a little training, well, you never know. If our brains really adapt to wings, and the wings develop, and they're big enough to develop sufficient muscular ability, why, we might be able to fly. Now, if you were promised the ultimate ability, if you really worked out a lot or how whatever, if you wouldn't get wings, would you do wings? You might do it. I think we can squeeze a call or so in here. Remember, coming up at the bottom of the hour, we're going to replay the infamous Area 51 pilot, the guy who flew into Area 51. But first, Western Rockies, Jamie, you are on the air. I'm steady.
Good, good. Listen, I'll do the 2019 in January, and I read four times. We got the conference bringing forward 3 weeks, 30 in March 11. We fall back a week later. Have you got this?
No.
No, we haven't. Wow.
No.
Yes. Yes. Well, this is part of the Energy Policy Act of 2005, and there will be needed should say energy equivalent of 100,000 barrels of oil per day. Yes, yes.
Now, let me get this straight. We're going to change time early?
And we're going to get a month of daylight savings time.
Why the hell don't they just get rid of the change altogether?
Well, because it's going to save us 100,000 barrels.
You're missing my point. They leave it that way all year long.
Well, I agree with you, Art. I just found it interesting that this is going to happen this year.
I mean, aren't you sick of changing clocks?
Well, actually, some of the clubs are supposed to change on their own now.
Well,
There
yes.
are some that don't, yes, you're right.
Listen. So I would say it's a great idea, but I mean, doing it a month early just moves the gain of changing the clocks a month.
I know, well, a lot of people don't really realize this is going to happen, you have to probably put it out there.
Okay, well, I guess we'll just have to spring forward a little bit.
And this year, tornadoes are going to cut down in LA.
LA.
Yeah. Just want to put that in, I want to be able to get in on the prediction. But I know, I feel like there's
Well, no, you're not. But either world weather, buddy, nothing surprises me. We're having like 30 and 40 mile an hour winds here in the desert right now. It's screaming out there.
yeah, it is. You're right. It's totally different out here this year.
All right, you take care.
Okay, you do that.
See you later. There's Jamie in California. California's going to have some kind of winds. I mean, just absolutely screeching away out there. East of the Rockies, Jeff in Missouri.
Thank you for taking my call. Happy New Year.
And the very same to you.
Nothing that's really, first, have you heard of the North American Union?
Yes.
I think it was Congress that tried to pass that. It's a type of organization, that socialist organization, that the Democrats don't want.
What Congress passes, the president can pass on.
Yeah, but he met with President Fox and then President Fox and the Canadian Prime Minister in Mexico back in March. But that was the early steps of the security, space conservation, and Special Act.
Yeah, it's probably inevitable. I mean, it is inevitable, I'm sure.
And I think one of the reasons the government doesn't like the amendment is there will be an approach for them if they try to pull that off.
Well, they already are. They're an inevitable concept.
Yeah, I think that the amendment would be is a well-organized force already to prevent anything like that from happening.
I don't have a clue why we don't protect our borders. I don't have a clue.
So that's one of the goals, so that will be one of the keep the borders open like it is, will help move forward that North American Union. Especially that super highway they're trying to build.
Yeah, but aren't they supposed to be fighting a war on terror?
Yeah. But,
Like some kind of cherry picking war, I'll tell you.
yeah, like that war on terror,
you, but I certainly agree with you. Coming up after the break, shortly after the break, at the bottom of the hour, we're going to be playing back the famous, the infamous guy who flew into Area 51. And if you want to hear what happened to him, you never did hear it, keep your radio exactly where it is right now on our bell. Us back from the hot desert, that's where we are. I keep getting these notes from people saying, where's your webcam? Well, it does move around a little bit. Right now, if you go to coasttocoastam.com and you look at the middle of the page and scroll down just a little bit, you'll see where it says Art's Webcam. Click here. Not too hard. Once again, middle of the page, just go down where it says Art's Webcam and click there. There's a photograph of friend taking it on a couple hours ago. Now, in a moment, and actually I want to hear it again myself. We had a time on the show back, I think, in 97, when a guy phoned me up in an airplane, getting ready to fly right into Area 51. And if I recall correctly, and I think I do, I really tried to talk him out of it. But it's been a long time, and I kind of like to hear it myself. So hopefully you have prepared your tape recorders, recording equipment, whatever, because this really is a very rare clip. Coming up in a moment, the man who took on Area 51. All right, I'm still getting notes saying the webcam isn't there. Yes, it is. Now, what may be happening is that your system is using cache. In other words, your own computer stores some cache, and you've got to get rid of that. You go in and there's a way to go in, depending on what browser you're using, and eliminate the cache, then it will be forced to reload the new information. That's the only reason I can imagine you would not be finding it. All right, what you are about to hear is classic Coast to Coast AM, to be sure. It's a long time ago, I think 1997. The first thing you're going to hear is this man, his girlfriend sent in fax. That was back in the day when I took faxes correctly. And apparently she was urging me to clear out a line so that I could get his call. Now, I remember the girlfriend. In fact, after the whole thing, we got other faxes from the girlfriend because, well, I wanted to be away what's going to happen. Let's go ahead and play the clip and roll your recorders right now. Network, roll it. I'm going to read you a fax that I've got here. I would like everybody to not call my wildcard line. Please, if you're calling the wildcard line, hang up. And I'm going to tell you why. Here's what I've got. Art, answer the wildcard line. My boyfriend is in a small plane north of Las Vegas and is ready to fly into Area 51. He's been trying to call you by cell phone. Now, it's signed by a name, and I'm not going to give that name, so I will know when the right person calls me on the phone. Whether or not you're able to get through to me, I would like to tell you that two things may occur if you try to fly into Area 51. One, you will be forced down and interrogated and probably arrested. As the least case, or worst case, you will be shot walked down. And so I'm telling you, you should not do this. But if you're already in the air, and you really want to call in, you go ahead and call me now on the wildcard line. And if you verify the person who signed their name here at the bottom, I will verify you as the person who sent the fax, or the boyfriend of that person. And I will put you on the air. Again, let me tell you, Art, answer the wildcard line. My boyfriend is in a small plane north of Las Vegas, ready to fly into Area 51. He's been trying to call you by cell phone. And here he is. You're on the air mode. Yes, sir, it is. Okay, wait a minute, sir, hold on. The fax is signed by somebody named who? Jim. That is correct. So you are the one.
That's my girlfriend.
Yes, sir. Where are you?
Well, I'm not here from 4 months. I'm a little airplane. But the phone is
feet in the airspeed. Right now at 7,000 feet, you know, this place where we get the bridge in.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I've been flying now for about 49 minutes, between 30 and what you call it, and it is great. And I figured I'd just along up here, and when I put in the 751, I brought down this about that side. Now it's Air Force Base.
Listen,
I found out about this restricted zone.
listen to me. When you fly into that zone, they are going to either force you down or shoot you down. Don't you know that?
Well, you know, I've been in a lot of Air Force bases, I've been in the Air Force for 10 years, I'm not in the Air Force, but I just want to tell you that, you know, American citizen, we have the right to go into the area if we want. I think most people are talking about this over here, we can return this, this thing here, and I'm going to go on and see what's going on, and I just wanted to let you things that were more of this, you know?
How long do you estimate it's going to be before you get? A lot of desert, yes. Now you're not to get yourself killed. I said you're liable to get yourself killed.
Well, we're just going to live, yeah, but just going to see what's going to happen, because this is I've got this process thing on this baby, and I got hospital on it, see, and maybe they're going to think that I'm on some kind of emergency flight, I'm just on board. And I've got the radio cut off, but you can have radio still, don't you know? And so, I'm going to hold this thing steady here, around 65, 68, 100 feet.
Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?
Thank you, one of my families has been asking for years, and I want to get down here, and I want to find out what's happening.
All right, then why are you doing it at night?
Because that's the best way to get in here.
But even if you manage to overfly the area, what do you?
Restricted zone, this area is a restricted zone, I see a bunch of lights out there. Looks like some kind of a searchlight coming on.
You're in the restricted zone now.
I just crossed that restricted zone, I was dropping the thing down.
I'm telling you, you're going to get shot
I'm
down.
on here now. I got my pressure still on, I'm going to need one of those down here, I'm like a jet to the hill. But I make some tight turns here. And I'm going to bend down here. And I'm going to see what these boys are going to do. I don't see anybody coming up here yet, I just see a bunch of lights. But I'm 54, so every 54, I figured out another 8, 9 minutes here. And it's hard to calculate, but that's how I'm trying to talk to you. I'm drilling that pin out here about 30 feet, so I can keep this whole conversation if we let it go on. But I want to go here and see what's going on. They say there's a bunch of UFOs, and there's all kinds of things out here. I'm going to get this thing right down here about 1,000 feet. And we're going to see if there's any UFOs, but everything on here, what's going on.
Listen, I think you're making a mistake.
Well, sir, I'm not seeing you, but, you know, I actually saw a state for all this. And this one thing that I think for all this light broadcasting and all this, brainwashing and all this kind of thing.
Sir, hold it. Don't you think that we have a right to national security secrets?
I think we have, not really, because, you know, we have these, A-15 satellites up there. I don't know what they're doing in the Chinese, they got satellites down here. They know what's going on. They're the thing that don't know what's going on. The common folks like me and you, and common folks that like to know what's going on all this.
How long have you been planning this?
I got this thing down here, but I was planning this thing now. I don't know if that's my ground, they got about 1,000 feet. One reason I got roads popping up everywhere, I'm saying they got dirt places about 4 on here. And I've been finding this now for already working on months, 6 weeks. It took me a while to think of the point. Because I had said, you know, the only thing that's bigger than Yelp, this thing year, I'll tell you that. So I'm hey, looks like there's an F-16 coming up here.
I wouldn't be surprised. You're making a mistake.
Somebody down there, he's got the mechanism on the back door, he's about 5 miles out. They're all drinking. Yes, sir. And I see something open up here on the ground. I'm pretty close now, so I think that all around the buildings down here. I see something here level with the ground. There's this thing up there, looks like something coming up out of that. I can't tell you what it is, it must be on some kind of a... Hold on here, I gotta make this turn. I think we're gonna put it to the head up here for me.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, you're gonna put it here like the rest of the he's in that 16, sure as hell. He's gonna hold on here.
I would advise you to turn.
What do you think you can do?
I would advise you to turn on your radio.
Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. We can do this now. Come on. Hold on, this one goes coming up here. Now he's got his lights. He's got his lights on and he's flashing me.
Yeah, it's probably.
Look at that. Nobody do. Nobody do. Nobody do. We don't know that.
Well, if I were you, I'd turn it on.
So this is our bell. So everybody listens to our bell.
Well, you're making a bad calculation because if they're not listening, you're going to be shut down.
I don't know what he's going to do here. He's walking his wings down there right now, but he's looking his wheels and he's got in front of me. And you know this thing? I'm not cut in front of me now, because if he does that, zero. He can hear the vortex from his engine. With the engine. Or just like some tornadoes, if he was to go zero. Hold on here, I'll get down on the neck. I'll go ahead, I'll get down there. He ain't gonna get that. I'll bet down there. He ain't gonna get me that one. They didn't get me over there, they're not gonna get me over here now. They don't get that real stuff. Get right around that house over there, that flat stuff. There you go, around the building over there. Is that some kind of well, we're really paralyzed in the back. And, oh yeah, they're doing something to turn it down. Oh yeah. Nobody else going in. I think they're going in.
And I can tell you this, he was never heard from again. We heard from his girlfriend. We had some follow-up faxes. But as far as I know, that man is just plain missing. He's gone. So there it was. That was the infamous Area 51 flight. And nary another word, not one other word in all these years. So I can only presume, only presume the following. One, it was a hoax. None of the listeners at the time. Now, some of the audio is not quite what it was. You can certainly hear the engines, and you can hear a kind of a whine that is associated with a transmission staying that way. You could hear it. A number of things that made most of my listeners at the time respond that they thought it was genuine. So it could be a hoax. Or he could have been shot down and be dead as a criminal, or he could have been captured, I suppose, and had his life threatened in any number of ways, should he ever say anything. So I have no way of knowing what follow-up is on how it was. There simply was none. All right, back to the lines. West of the Rockies. You are on the air. Jim in Washington.
Good evening. Boy, that's quite a reporting.
Yes, it is.
Oh, man. Well, that's too bad about the guy.
Yes, it is, but you can't say I didn't warn him.
That's true. That's true. That was silly on his part, frankly.
I think so.
Hey, last night, you were talking about MARSA, that I want to say Staphylococcus caucus is not it's a staph infection.
Yes.
They were saying that they haven't been able to find the strongest antibiotic doesn't seem to work. I get these newsletters, I subscribe to them, and one of them suggested using honey, making a poultice out of honey, wrapping the wound
with this poultice and applying honey to it. And they seem to indicate that it worked pretty good, stopping this staph infection.
Maybe, but it spreads very, very, very quickly. By the way, it's not the only thing that is immune to all the known antibiotics we have right now. There are more and more infections and things that are simply immune to the very latest that we try and make. Every time we run into something new, we try and get a new antibiotic that will kill it. But I just have this sinking feeling that nature is going to win this particular battle as time goes on. We'll never know. Science is doing its very best, but it's not easy. And in the end, it may be the little things that get us. Let's go to Wildfire Lines. Hey, Richard in New York, you're on the air.
Hey, Art, good to talk to you. That was quite a recording phase.
Yes, sir, it was.
Welcome back and Happy New Year. No, I called because I was setting up a little secret VersaCore to record the program. I usually don't stay up this late. And I know you've been talking a lot about the Chicago lights, they thought. And I set up by Fox News, the O'Reilly report was on. And he's got a little section on this thing where he takes wacko stories, crazy stories.
Yes.
He says, by the way, this is Ezra lights in the sky. He said, supposedly they saw lights over Chicago, and he said, I don't think any flying saucers could land there because they have trouble landing planes there. He said, also there are lights over Colorado and Nevada, which the news said today, all these lights are a Russian spaceship that broke up with no debris in the ground except for a single silver spot.
Please.
So he lumped the two together, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It just really, they try and try and try to just get the general public to get, it's funny. On one hand, they let all this stuff on the History Channel and stuff that they control in the media, saying that, all these things about the Roswell in Canada and the Roswell in Mexico and Roswell in England and all this different stuff about flying saucers, and that's on the media. But when it comes to a legitimate report where hundreds of people actually saw these lights over Chicago, it's played off like a little,
And everybody begins to have severe memory problems.
Yeah, I got a feeling I didn't get in on your lines to make predictions because it didn't help me psychically or anything, but I have a really strong feeling that in 2007, sometime this year, we're going to get definitive proof, not definitive proof, I would say irrefutable proof of either a UFO or a USO, an undersea one. It's going to be seen by a cruise ship, or it's going to be something flying so low that there'll be such a mass sight, like they had in Mexico, that kind of thing.
United Airlines pilots line you swear they saw a mysterious floating air saucer-shaped craft hovering over O'Hare. But everybody else has memory problems. They don't recollect anything about that. They didn't see anything like that. Oh, please. Coming up in a moment, my co-author and very good friend, Whitley Strieber. I'm Mark Bell. From the high desert, in the rain in the southwest of the darkness, I'm doing everybody. I am Mark Bell. Coming up, Whitley Strieber. He's the author of many best-selling novels and works of nonfiction and 4 movies that have been made from his books. Most recently, the 2004 mega hit The Day After Tomorrow, based on the novel Superstorm, written by Whitley and some radio hosts. Among his best-known novels are The Wolfen and The Hunger, which were both made into films, and of course the mega bestseller about his own Close Encounters, Communion. His most recent book, The Greys, is a thriller about what happens when aliens land. It is now being made into a film by Sony Pictures. Did you know that? In 1999, he co-produced with Mark Hoper a special for NBC based on his book Confirmation. At present, he and Mark are both producing a remake of Wolfen for A&E. His website, unknouncountry.com, website in the world. His weekly internet radio program, Dreamland, is among the most popular of all internet broadcasts. That's that. Dreamland. So happy to see it continue. What program? Coming up in just a moment with Lee Strieber. All right, as promised, here is with Lee Strieber. Hey, wait.
Well, welcome back, and welcome to Aaron, too. It's great that you guys are back in the United States. I have to tell you, very excited to come and see you as soon as we can.
Thank you so very much, Will. Well, I said when I left that I would spend anywhere between 8 months and a year there and make a decision, and that's exactly what I did. And of course, we did all the paperwork to properly immigrate Aaron. And so we're giving it a shot here, and we'll see how we like it. Now, the desert right now is screaming. We're getting 40, 45-mile-an-hour gusts of wind again. And it's just really wicked, Whitley. I'm telling you, it's wicked here. Listen, before we dive into the weather, I've got a fast blast from Daniel here in Ohio, who said, is Whitley still visited by the Grays? When was his last encounter with them? Could you get him to speak just a little bit about the Grays tonight?
Well, sure. I don't think I've had a close encounter in quite a long time. You know, when I left New York State in 1997, the experience sort of followed me, but then there was not much after that. There was a close encounter of some sort, but I've never known exactly what was happening in June of 1999, but I wrote a little book about it called The Key, but it was with a person who just had a really remarkable mind and had a way of they showed up at my hotel room in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, which was pretty impressive because nobody, how did they know I was even there? And I thought I was a bit confused on the room service waiter, and it turned out to be this guy who had some extraordinary things to say, which was okay, I recorded in this book, and I've never known who or what he was, but I was able to find him since then, and so that's really the last thing that happened.
Well, I not very long ago interviewed a remarkable man who we spent 5 hours. I extended the show to 5 hours. It was an abduction experience. Did you catch that program?
Yeah, I might have. Who was this?
I think his name was Sparks. I think his name was Jim Sparks.
Jim Sparks, yes, I'm familiar with this case, and in fact, I think I've interviewed Jim myself. It's not limited on my show.
Okay, it's remarkable. He is a remarkable man with a remarkable memory.
Well, he has a better memory of it than anyone I've known. There is another man, and Linda just recently interviewed for us. There'll be a hearing on the interview. Will be a hearing on Fremont, I believe, next week or the week after, who is a lawyer, and apparently a very prominent lawyer, who interviewed anonymously, who also, like Jim Sparks, this guy sent his memory of what happened to him, and most people really don't. My first experience with this thing was abduction. Well, the first one I remember, let me put it that way, in late 1985. But then after that, the next 11 years, there was I don't remember any abductions at all. It was a lot of, I've been out in the woods and encountered them, and I used to have groups of people out of the cabin. And there would be group encounters where they would come and there'd be all people there. And that was the sort of thing that we did there. And they seemed to be connected somehow with that immediate area. In other words, when you left there, they didn't follow. It was very odd. I was left wondering what they really were. I'll give you an example of a lady called Rita Dana, who's spoken about publicly, who had an encounter at our house, said it was 30. She had the feeling that it was like a little animal. And that was exactly the way I would feel when they were around me, because even though after a few seconds you could see this is no animal that we know, you know, it wasn't when you're face to face with them and you're totally conscious, they're not, they just seem they're not very humanoid when we put that, but there's not a lot about them. You would not think of them as being something that came out of UFO viewers with that spaceship. And yet, you know, when I think of where they come from, how can anything look like that? And then suddenly, it touches you or looks into your eyes, and it's like opening up the soul of God or something. It's appalling.
Well, it's very intriguing to me that they are territorial. In other words, one would imagine, and does imagine, they're interested in genetic research. They're following people, even families, from generation to generation. So, okay, but why in the world, if you move, would they not move with you?
Well, you know, I think that in many cases they do move with people. Because one of the things we learned very quickly when we were in Pennsylvania about these were people all being moved. They didn't stay in one place very long. When you were communicating with a group of 2,000 or 3,000 FSUs, you had 40% of them moving out every year. They did not stay in the same place. And this is because they would get released from it. And they would move, and for a few months it would be fun. It would start happening again, and they would move again. They didn't follow me. Absolutely not. They did not follow me. They tried to follow me, but they did not. And it did not work. There were a couple of incidents that moved down to Texas. It's pretty intense. But over time, gradually faded.
All right, well, Jim Sparks' line of thinking with is that rays are not from another planetary system somewhere, but probably from our own future. And my God, it makes so much sense to me when you look at their line of investigation and what they're doing. And you look at what we're doing right now, you can well imagine that in the future, the human race may slowly morph into something not so pleasant. Mr. Sparks made reference to that one in 166 children now, and all of a sudden I'm seeing it on the news, incidentally on CNN, and everybody else is talking about autism, how bad it is. It was 1 in 10,000, then it was 1 in 5,000, and a few years later it's 166. That's a big change.
Yeah, and there was a story on our website a couple of weeks ago about that. The effect that apparently the scientists have discovered that essentially there's a gene in certain people that makes them susceptible as children to heavy metal poisoning. And so these kids were being affected by the mercury that used to be inserted in vaccines. And whether they're more being born with that gene or there's more heavy metal pollution around them,